Magic permeates the dark, grimy city of Ruanberg. It bubbles beneath the surface and runs seeping through the sewers. It soaks into the stones and echoes in the footprints of the rich and the poor as they rub shoulders on the dirty pavements. It suffuses the smoke and the steam that rises from the squat factories, which crouch beside the greying waters of the river. Magic weaves a web of power through the city, but it does so in secret. The city can only function because magic hides in the shadows, operating according to the consensus. The consensus is the simple idea, kept alive by Ruanberg's million inhabitants' thoughts that magic does not exist. How could it? Small, everyday miracles. These can be absorbed into the consensus easily. Flashy displays of magic are hushed up by the Magical Suppression Commission. Their perpetrators disappeared into the bowels of the city's prisons, branded as domestic terrorists or members of the chaotic entropist faction. So long as the consensus holds, the city will prosper. At least, that's what the ruling technocrats say. Interesting, isn't it? How those who are actually doing the prospering are always the ones who say the status quo must be upheld. Maybe these thoughts run through your mind, or maybe they don't. As you emerge from one of the city's new-built underground railway stations, eyes adjusting to the grim daylight and sights set on the imposing and solid building before you. Westernmost Trading Company, reads the well-polished sign. Domain of Vice President Anders Dawes, the second most powerful individual in the whole city. People like Dawes live in a different world, even to fellow mages like yourself. You wonder, perhaps, what someone like Dawes would want with a private investigator like yourself. What secrets will the city hold today? What lurks in the shadows? Let's find out. Hello and welcome to A Rendezvous with Destiny. Today, instead of your usual Skyom podcast and your usual GM Luce, you have me, Graham, in the GM's chair. It's my normal chair, but I've put a sign on it. And with me today, I have, as well as a special guest who we'll reveal later.
It's me, Luce, not in the GM chair, which is fun and funky fresh. As a one-shot, I am Luce. I use some form of pronouns. Who knows what they are at the moment? Think, she, they. Let's go with that. And today I will be playing Arch, whose pronouns are they, them.
Hi, my name's Will, and today, rather than playing everyone's favourite, Cleo, I am playing... I nearly got through that without laughing. I'm playing Jessie, who uses he, him pronouns, and Jessie is a mage of the correspondence sphere. So that's something exciting which I just found out yesterday.
I forgot to do that bit.
Do you want to do yours now?
Arch is the entropy sphere.
Oh, how unsurprising. How unsurprising, yeah. And I use he, him pronouns, and so does Jessie.
Ooh, oh my god, y'all are so emo. Hello, my darlings, it is me. I'm always in the editor's chair, forever and ever. And I use she, her pronouns, and I am here today with my lovely little PC, Penelope Blight, but Penny to her friends, of which she has none. Penny also uses she, her pronouns, and she is, her core sphere, let's take that one again. Her core sphere is forces. What does that mean? Certainly not me, because I do not understand the rules, and I never will. But, you know who also doesn't understand the rules? Maybe they do, I don't know. Is our wonderful special guest, Faye. Faye, share your love with the people. Who are you? Who are you playing? And more.
Hi, I'm Faye. I do not understand these rules. I don't understand rules of games that I've played for years. It's fine. I am Faye. I use any and all pronouns because no one can misgender me.
I like the vibes.
All of them. Yeah, it's out of spite, purely out of spite. And I'm going to be playing Yeah. And I'm going to be playing Nox, who doesn't have a core sphere.
What?
And uses all pronouns as well, because chaos is more fun than anything else.
What I do really enjoy is in the setup for this game when we were planning stuff, Graham was like, you guys can know each other before if you want, you can have an established relationship, and all of us collectively with one voice went, no.
Not today.
Not today, thank you. Normally,
They are
some
all
of us know each
strangers
other.
to me.
We have never met.
There's something about
I
this
mean-
game and this setting.
Speaking
it's a bit
of,
different from playing Cousins.
Yeah, Faye and I know each other from a Morris stream we did, which was February to May of this year, 2021, if you're listening to this in the far future, where we played Cousins, and the dynamic was so good and spicy that I was like, get that on my podcast right now.
And now
Yeah.
I'm here.
we love
Yeah,
a good
Now,
dynamic.
face it, this is why I love organising the guests and doing all the admin for this podcast, is because I can pick someone and be like, this is beneficial for our show, and really I just want to play with my friend.
So, speaking of game systems that we don't know the rules of, which I think goes for all of us really, you may have noticed that as we're doing a one-shot today, we are playing, like we tend to do, a different system. We're playing Mage the Ascension, which is also by the company now known as Onyx Path.
Formerly White Wolf.
Formerly White Wolf, which did confuse me for a second. I was like, this character sheet looks almost exactly the same. Lots of D10s, that's what we've rolled in
it's
today.
more similar. The mage ones are more similar to the vampire ones and the Scion ones, but there's definitely some overlap.
Yeah. So we're going to be getting to grips with that a little bit. We're playing a slightly light version of the system and just mixing and matching some mechanics that we think look fun in our setting today. Yeah, if you're a diehard fan, look away now. This will hurt.
Or don't. We
Or-
need the lessons. So.
Yeah, get in the comments. Tell us what you think is wrong or what we could do better. We need the interaction. We're
You
not
might
even the level
read
of
the message.
I will definitely read the message.
I
and
definitely
respond to
won't.
you timely.
Yeah, and we'll read the message and then stress about it all day.
Correct. I
Luce
need
will hear
everyone
about
to
it 2
like me
months
so
later.
much
Yep.
all the time.
Yeah.
I will hear about it when someone tells me when we record.
Yeah, pretty much. That's how we roll. Speaking
Speaking
of
of rolling,
shall
let's
we?
roll some dice.
You are all arriving at the new underground railway station in the centre of the city of Ruanberg. It's a newly put in transport link, but still already the station and its steps and its tunnels are accruing that slight city grime that seems to get everywhere. A mixture of soot, smoke, and all kinds of other things you don't quite want to think too hard about. Coming up the steps, you would blink into the daylight, but again it's covered by this low city smog pumped out by the many factories of the heavily industrialised city. This is one of the most prosperous cities of the world, but to look around sometimes, you would not know it. So, as you walk towards the building entitled Westermost Trading Company, clutching in your hands an appointment invitation note to see Miriam Causwood, secretary to Anders Dawes, vice president of the company. Let's take a look around and see who we've got. So, Luce, would you like to describe Arch to us?
So, walking out the subway, this entrance, you see Arch. Arch is tall, maybe 6'2", 6'3" kind of height, long, sort of dirty blonde hair, sort of settles around their shoulders, sort of some of it pulled back into a bit of a messy, sort of half up, half down do. They're wearing a nice velvet smoking jacket, knee-high boots, got a corset under the smoking jacket, underneath it's a very, very flouncy shirt with a cravat, and they are walking with a purpose towards this building.
Alright. Will, walking not quite in step with Arch, but coming out at roughly the same time, would you like to describe Jessie to us?
Yeah, Jessie is a bit shorter than Arch, very sort of build that you only hear described in novels as like swarthy sort of build. So very sort of broad-shouldered, wearing a rolled up like a t-shirt with not a t-shirt. It's Victorian times. A dress shirt with rolled up sleeves and sort of like trousers with I've completely forgotten what they're called. The strap-up things. They braces. Is that right?
Braces?
Braces, yeah.
Yeah, I just completely forgot what they're called. With braces, he's got sort of short, close-cropped hair, and I get also a short, close-cropped beard, and most sort of striking about him is his arms, and what you can see sort of his neck and up onto the back of his head is covered in a mess of tattoos. You probably think they're like Sailor Jerry tattoos, or that sort of thing, if you know what I mean by that description.
Okay,
And
thank you very much.
he's sort of striding, but with a bit less directness than Arch.
Okay. As you stride through the bustle of the dense city streets, densely packed with people, the low drone of a mechanized airship passing low overhead. What's Penny doing?
Penny is probably sitting outside, as she has been since Dr. Blight woke up and sort of sent her out of the lab so that he could begin his experiments for the day. She's kind of got some loosely gathered paper on her lap as she's sitting on the step, just sort of scribbling in it absent-mindedly. She has stringy, sort of slightly greasy brown hair that's been bleached at the ends by whatever kind of experiment she's been recently doing. And she smells not bad, not unpleasant, but you know in a science lab has a very strong chemical smell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Like
almost
ammonia.
like she's
I know until I
bathed
hate
in it, yeah. When I was describing, and her to friends and thinking about how I would create this character and how she would dress, I was talking to Will, and he said, "So does she dress like Emily Blunt in Jungle Cruise?" And I was like, "Yes, actually, that's exactly it. Oops." So she's got kind of on those like very practical but far too big trousers that. What was the most it was acceptable for women to wear trousers. Her hair's very much pulled back, and she's got some very smudged spectacles on. She kind of like looks up at the others, glances, assesses as if she can see them approaching, and then will just like return to her notes.
Okay. Are either of the two of you trying to approach discreetly? Just out of interest.
No.
No.
Okay, in that case you
I
probably would
wouldn't say
spot
so,
them.
no.
Last but not least then, Faye, what's Nox like?
So Nox has long silver hair with shaved sides. It's pulled like away from their face and is braided down the back. Basically like a very long mohawk. They are wearing like thigh-high boots, and then like the shortest of shorts with a very flowy shirt and a corset on, like not the full corset, but you know the sort of corsets that only go over
The underboob corset.
The
underbust corset. So they have one of them on with like their shirt would be open stereotypically. They are just looking like somewhere between a stereotypical pirate and just a hot mess, and they kind of blend the two together. But on top of this, they do have like a longer jacket. But yeah, the biggest thing about them is like their thigh-high boots, their corset, and then their jacket, and they're just like a mess. Other than that,
I love how
Right.
the two non-cis people immediately went corsets, shirts, and fancy jackets.
yeah.
It's a big
It's-
outfit.
Just
And,
quite
and,
extra
and,
out.
also both are named Arch and Nox.
Yep.
So,
Could we be any more stereotypical? Probably not.
If one of us was called Kai.
Oh, that is very true.
Do you know how many non-binary people I know called Kai?
Yeah. Or
Is that
like
4?
if we were named after an inanimate object.
Again, yeah, one of my best friends is gender.
Again,
and they go by bees.
I'd like to say Arch. As an inanimate
I was
object.
thinking more like sock or rock, because I know
Yeah,
binary
brick.
people both called sock and rock.
Yeah, Brick is actually
Button.
quite a nice name. I don't know why, but I like that.
I'm not, against Brick.
Anyway, drifting off topic here as I think about what other masonry styles I could name myself after. As you all four approach the large, wide, ornate doorway, stepping up the steps past Penny, do you acknowledge each other?
I mean, I'll look at them. If they choose to make eye contact, then that's fine. But as I see them sort of approaching, I'll kind of like stand up and shuffle my papers and stand a little bit behind, just like observing.
All right. Okay. In that case, as you approach the doors, they swing open, silently on smooth hinges, almost of their own accord. And standing behind them is a sharply dressed individual in what appears to be a sort of double-breasted suit kind of attire. You must be the investigators?
Suppose you could call
The
us
private
that.
investigators? Yes. I hope I can call you that. Let me see your appointment sheets, please. All four of you do have, or were sent appointment sheets. I don't know if you still have them.
Arch goes into like various different pockets and eventually pulls out like a very, very crumpled piece of paper that's a bit stained, possibly with tobacco, and just sort of hands it over.
Okay. The doorman picks it up between two fingers, holding it at arm's length. This appears to be nearly in order. Next.
Nox pulls theirs out of the side of their boot. Because I imagine underneath the boots they actually have like thigh holsters on. So they pull it out and it's like tucked in behind a little hip flask.
Mm-hmm.
And as they pull it out, they're like, "Oh, it's a little some brandy for you as well." And they put the hip flask back. So theirs is soaked in alcohol.
The doorman sort of flicks off a bit of the liquid. Right, a little smudged, but it seems to be, all seems fine. The other two of you?
Han?
Oh, yeah. Penny hands over hers without saying a word again, like these large, unblinking Tim Burton-esque almost eyes. And her invitation appears completely fine.
Yeah.
But it just smells, and you know when you feel paper and it's, I mean, I'm about to totally again reveal my neurodivergent self here, but you know when you feel a paper and it's like bad texture?
Yep.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's just, it's not the normal like soft texture that you would expect from like a well-to-do or something. It's like, it seems wrong, but everything looks like it's in order.
All appears to be in order, Miss Blight. And finally...
And Jesse's going to hand his over. The only conspicuous thing about it is that he hands it over. He like takes it out and glances at it, but it's like upside down. And he hands it over, so it's still upside down.
You get a slightly raised eyebrow. Very well. If you four would like to follow me up to Miriam Carswood's office. And the doorman strides off into the building. It opens out into this large, ornate hallway. You can see the signs of activity at the sides. There's lots of desks with people bustling about with papers. The kind of office where there's a lot of people moving paper around, and some of it might even mean something. You're taken up the stairs to a row of more private rooms arranged around a large balcony that circles the entire atrium below. The doorman knocks on one of the doors and lets you in. Seated behind a large wooden desk is an austere-looking woman who sets aside a rather odd-looking pen before gesturing you to a row of 4 chairs that have been pulled out just nearly in front of the desk.
Graham, I have a question.
Yes.
As I am semi-familiar with the Dawsons, do I know who this lady is?
You will have met Miriam Carswood before.
Okay.
As Anders Dawes' personal secretary, she does handle some of his affairs, and so will have liaised with your laboratory beforehand.
Okay, cool.
So you will have made an... Yeah, she nods back to you. You have met before.
Cool. Yeah,
Please
she's
be
probably
seated.
take the seat far, like one on one of the sides, not in the middle.
Yes, okay. All right. Well, I'm sure you're all wondering why you've been gathered here today. I shall make this rather brief, as I have many appointments to get to. You four are all private investigators of some description, no? Yes?
Sort of, yes.
Close enough.
Take your general admissal as a yes, for my purposes. Very well. You have been gathered here to look into the missing persons case of Mr. Dawes' daughter, Caroline. Who here is familiar with Caroline Dawes? Is anyone not familiar with the Dawes family? Raise your hand now. Very good.
Yeah, Jesse's going to slightly sheepishly raise his hand a little bit.
Less good. Not paying attention to internal affairs, I see. Well, it may aid in our secrecy. The Dawes family is one of the most important families in the city, certainly one of the richest. They have controlling shares in several large companies, including this one. And Mr. Dawes, Mr. Anders Dawes, is well known as the second most powerful man in the city. Now, his daughter going missing is of course something we do not want to be public knowledge. Therefore, I expect you to conduct this case with the utmost secrecy. Yes, I'm looking at you particularly. You can't tell who exactly she's looking at. Her gaze seems to shift to all of you individually very quickly. You all feel a little victimized. Now, Miss Dawes has gone missing 2 nights ago. She was last seen near the area of the Docklands. We have recovered some items from her room which we feel may be relevant. Otherwise, if you ask me for any information now, I shall give it to you. We would like this matter to be carried out, as I say, with the utmost secrecy and expedience, if possible.
If you know she was missing, why did it take you 2 days to get people involved who could help?
Mr. Dawes has it in his head that, as his eldest daughter, she should be allowed a certain amount of personal freedom. I, for one, disagree slightly, as she tends to use that personal freedom with a degree of... Well, I shall not comment on personal affairs here. Suffice to say that until today we had not decided she was officially missing, and even now she's not officially speaking missing. She is only missing for our purposes.
Is there any place that we would not be allowed to investigate or observe?
I am issuing you all with the seal of the personal office of Anders Dawes. If you show this to most locations in the city, they should let you in, unless they are either a place of ill repute, or allied with a company or syndicate that does not affiliate itself with Mr. Dawes. This should get you into most places. It shall open most doors, if you pardon me.
And what is her father's working theory? Or yourself?
Well, I am told by the household staff that Caroline had recently been spending more time out of the house at night. It is my personal belief that Miss Dawes has run off, perhaps with some friends or acquaintances she has made recently. I am told that within the last month or so she had been going out more and more at later times of the day.
Do we know where or just the when?
Towards the Docklands. We also recovered one letter from her room. I shall pass it to you now. As you can see, it appears to be intended and not delivered to one Vincent Grove. It reads, Vincent, my own preparations are nearly complete. The hour draws near and I can barely wait any longer. The only thing that keeps me going is the knowledge that, when I see you next, everything shall be different. No more hiding. It is signed Caroline Dawes. There's also some strange markings on the back. It's rather cheap, thin, translucent paper. I don't know exactly what to make of it. Perhaps Miss Dawes has been more lax on her stationery of late. Anyway, I shall give that to you, and she passes it to you, Arch.
Does the name ring a bell? Have I heard of this Vincent fella?
Or for me?
Anyone who would like to can roll me a...
Oh.
Now, I'm not sure which attribute this would be, actually, but I'm going to go for streetwise and...
Ooh. Oh, Graham.
And also intelligence.
Oh, damn.
I
Okay.
can roll this. I can roll
Four
this.
dice.
Good at streetwise.
dice.
I'm bad at intelligence.
And the other way around.
How do
If
you
anyone has
roll?
anything additional from their character backstory they'd like to mention that might give them an edge here, please mention it now.
No.
Nah. I have something for Nox.
Okay, please go ahead.
Nox has a lot of contacts because they are not particularly from the upper echelons of society.
Alright.
So, in the thing I chose contacts, so information sources and rumor mills, I was imagining, like, because they would hang out in the areas where the less reputable people hung out, they would, like, hear the whispers of things, etc.
Okay. I like that.
I will say this is dependent on your answer as well, but my background is to do with the Sons of Ether, which is the faction that Penny's part of.
Yes.
So if he's anything to do with that, I would likely get that bonus, but if he isn't, then I wouldn't, but you can't tell us that without giving the answer, so...
I can't. It's a fiddly one for me there. You've put me in
Yeah.
a little bind. Very sneaky,
Yeah.
Amelia.
Well, you could, if you want to, DM me, and I won't tell anyone else whether I get
No,
to use
it's
it or
okay.
not. Okay, I won't use it.
Will, anything from you?
Yeah, and similarly, definitely got some contacts, particularly around the Docklands area. Yeah,
Alright.
anything stemming from that would be great.
In that case...
Would you let I Know the City play into this or no?
I won't for you because
Okay.
that's too vague.
Yeah.
But so if everyone could roll the amount of dice that you have dots in both intelligence and streetwise, and then if Faye and Will, instead of taking anything an 8 and above as a success, take a 7 and above as a success.
Nice.
Oh!
This is gonna go poorly.
0.
Okay, I got 3 successes.
3 successes. That's pretty good.
Um,
Okay.
Stupid question, Ben. This game uses exploding dice as well, right?
Yes. Well, I don't know, but let's say yes because they're fun.
Graham says yes.
Okay, I've got 2 successes then.
All right.
Silly question. It's you have to roll above that number. It's not like
Inclusive. So 7, 8,
Five-hander.
9, or 0.
Yeah, no, I got 4 failures.
All right.
Same.
So we've got 3, 2, 0, and 0 there for successes. Interestingly, so Penny recalls some
Penny's
of the
been keeping
outgoing.
tabs on her for no reason.
Penny's been keeping tabs on all kinds of things going around and recalls Caroline mentioning picking up some things from the laboratory and the name Vincent being mentioned in passing during that interaction. A lot of metallic components being taken out of the laboratory in that interaction. Meanwhile... Sorry, carry on.
I was going to say, is it my laboratory, or I suppose Dr. Blight's laboratory, or the one that we liaise at her father's?
Your personal laboratory.
Yes.
Now, Jesse, you recall
Uh-huh.
the last name Grove being mentioned around some of the working parties going down at the Docklands, specifically the ones for construction work.
That's the
And
thing,
that
a
is all
very
you have so
interesting
far.
thing. Yeah, okay.
Would anyone like to look at anything else to do with the letter whilst you're here? You have the object itself, there is some information on it, and you could ask about where it was found, things like that.
Would we be able to have a look at the symbols on the back?
You certainly would. So, turning over the piece of paper, it's this very thin, it's almost like tracing paper, if you remember that from probably primary school. This thin sheaf of paper, and you can see as you read the words on the front, if you were to read them, these symbols sort of faintly through on the back. You turn it over, and it's these sort of discordant lines. They seem to be almost a quarter circle here, a little sort of straight line there, a small cross further down in the bottom left. They don't seem to match up to anything much in particular, but could you roll for me a perception and... Perception occult check. This is for you, Nox.
I should not be the one doing this.
You would almost
Oh, I
certainly
rolled
be
a
better than
9.
me at it.
Okay, so 1 success.
Yeah, it's the only
All
one
right.
I get.
So, you feel like the symbols seem to almost tickle something at the back of your mind. Some sort of... You're sure there's a pattern there. You can't quite work out what it is, but it's that part of your brain that you use when lining up with magical symbology and things like that. You're sure that there's something in this, but you can't quite figure out what it is. If only you feel like you're missing at least half of the puzzle.
Can I see the letter over Nox's shoulder?
Yes.
Excuse me. Sorry, I do believe that would be used over something. The paper. There's no other reason for the paper to be translucent if it wasn't, to be transferred over something, perhaps markings on a map or on top of a contraption of some kind. I believe that Miss Dawson was, Miss Dawes, was, working in conjunction with my lab, and I think it might be quite insightful to perhaps head there first.
Well, maybe we could watch her roots, look in her room first, see if there's anything that they didn't find that we can.
I mean, I suppose we can visit her lodgings as well. Does any other suggestions as to what locations perhaps we should visit?
No, I mean, I think starting with her room's a good one, yeah. And then you mentioned a laboratory, and obviously the doctors themselves tell all sorts of stories, all sorts go through there. So I think start with her room and see where that leads us.
Okay, to the room then. My name is Penny, by the way.
Oh, nice to meet you. I'm Arch.
And I suppose the two of you shall remain a mystery.
Jessie?
Jessie.
Nox.
Lovely to meet you all. I turn back to the secretary. Was the young lady staying at her father's house at this time, or did she have a separate apartment?
No, she is lodging in her father's house still. So, if you'd arrive with these seals, and she passes out essentially small pieces of paper with a sort of wax seal stamp on them, which basically say certification that you are acting under the authority of Anders Dawes. If you arrive with these seals, they should let you in to take a look around. Obviously, try not to get the place too much of a mess whilst you're there. Mr. Dawes takes his abode very seriously, but I'm sure he would understand your investigations on behalf of his daughter.
No, of course.
Is there anything else you... Yes, sorry. Please continue.
Yeah, was there anything missing from the house itself? Cash, any jewellery, any other items that might have gone missing with her?
It does not appear, so far as I'm aware, that she packed anything with her to go. Pretty much the clothes she stood up in. Assuming she was standing up at the time of leaving, we assume she left by choice.
No, all right.
Interesting.
Thank you.
But there may be something that we have missed that esteemed investigators such as yourself may be able to find, so...
And
go in with an open mind.
in terms of recompense for assistance with this most delicate matter, as you've put it,
I can assure you that
What sort
the
of thing do you have in
remuneration
mind?
shall be quite substantial. For
How
some of you, we have negotiated
substantial?
with your superiors. For this, she looked specifically at Penny. If either of you have specific requests otherwise, I'm sure we can accommodate certain things. Otherwise, we do have a figure in mind. She writes something down on a sheaf of rather nice parchment and sort of slides it across the desk. It's a not insubstantial number.
Is this
Of course,
each
the number
or
is liable
shared?
to go down. This is each. It's to go down should there be complications. If we have to tidy up after you, for example, if you were to make a splash of the more magical variety and we must send the commission in after you, for example, anything that might upset the consensus, the number will go down. Caroline Dawes is not returned, the number shall go down even further. Caroline Dawes is returned deceased, the number shall also go down.
Does the cleaning up also include anything that may occur in regards to accidental self-defense?
I do not need to remind you that this city exists in a fine balance. Upsetting the consensus is tantamount to upsetting the balance of life.
I think she means what happens if someone accidentally dies.
If someone accidentally... What, one of you four? We're not too bothered.
Someone else.
The young lady. Oh, brilliant. Okay. As much as I am appreciating all this conversating, we are on a bit of a time limit, as is Miss Dawes. So may we kind of looks at the others, seems anxious to leave.
Shall we head off
Please.
then?
Right.
Very well.
Great.
You know where to find me. Otherwise, good luck. And you're ushered out of the building. Unless you'd like to make any stops on the way, I assume that you're heading across town.
Hi Scions, hope you're enjoying the episode. I know I did. This was a really fun one-shot to play, and we've got a couple left to record, so I can't wait to see how it concludes. We have a wonderful trailer from our friends over at Brain Adventures, but just before I play it, if you want to have your trailer featured, do any kind of promotional swap with us, you can email us at rwdpodcastcontact@gmail.com. That's rwdpodcastcontact@gmail.com. And, enjoy the trailer. Brain Adventures are some of our great friends. You can check them out at BrainADV on Twitter and on Instagram. They're really good fun. You can also interact with them in our Discord. So, enjoy the trailer.
I had a vision that I would see all of you here one day. And today is that day.
Congrats.
I'm scared.
I'm upset. Who made me a pelican?
So Dermot's just being like, what's happening?
Sir Dermot.
It's my gauge for most people. Like, I could crush this person.
I cry harder and glare harder at the same time. New level of divinity to tell my mom about.
And the Princess Constance.
Can't touch me. I'm a princess.
Okay, they're idiots. Awesome.
Okay, I vomit and then I attack someone. Classic Constance.
And that one's name is what that noise is. This is either a relatively small garbage tornado or shattering glass.
I want to light this man on fire.
I don't feel very good about this.
What the hell is happening?
We are citizens of the Evershield Kingdom. Some kind of spell was cast, and we woke up here in this Hollywood, and we are just trying to get back home. We're not familiar with the weird goings-on here.
Valandrius just points at you, looks at the guards, and goes, get them!
Last battle we were all vomiting, and that helped.
You're afraid that your soul just got trapped inside that brick. I would advise you, personally, as the DM, to start running.
I'm going to dive bomb into this crowd.
Sacrifice myself for nothing. That's fine.
What's next, since our only hope try to kill us?
That's a typical Hollywood story.
This was overwhelming.
How would you like to travel? It's about a half an hour walk. There's other types. You could take a cab, or you could take the railway, or you could simply walk there.
Does anyone have any cash? No?
Oh, what for?
For a cab or for the railway?
Something wrong with your legs, girl?
No, I just don't want to see Miss Dawes murdered. Also, can you read?
And what sort of question is that to be asking?
I just want to know. You were looking at your paper funny.
Well, far be it from me to comment on others' appearances. Look, shall we get a move on? Because, as you've put it, we do have to get to Miss Dawes in some time at least.
I can probably get us there a bit quicker even walk in than half an hour.
Oh?
Alright.
I would like to use my background in that I know the back streets of the city to get everyone there as quickly as possible while walking.
I will
Right.
use my character features.
Yes.
I will get value for money.
I will.
Very well. If you'd like to roll that one, and if you've got anything in streetwise too, you can add that in on
No.
top if you want.
Yes, I've got streetwise. Three successes.
All right. You managed to cut a good sort of maybe 5 to 7 minutes off the time, which is pretty impressive. You lead the group through. Actually, would you like to describe the sort of back alleys that you lead everyone through?
Yeah, so Arch leads everyone. So you start off on sort of like a main road, and then they sort of start ducking down narrower and narrower alleys, and it's almost like getting into like this like more underground areas of the city. It almost looks like at one point you're going through a bit that almost looks like a slightly illegal market of some sort, and you sort of essentially like, and then will occasionally climb some posts outside a building and hop over some buildings rather than going round the road. So you're going on quite a direct route over and under and through bits of the city you've probably not seen before.
Okay. And through this roundabout route, you arrive in very good time at the Doors house. It's a beautiful, large townhouse. Quite well appointed. It's fully detached, which is rare for this city, which is so closely built together, with a high walled garden around the outside and heavy gates. Showing your passes to those at the gates and the front doors, you are escorted inside and shown up towards Caroline Dawes' room. It's a fairly large room, but almost conspicuously tidy. Everything seems to have been arranged back into its proper place. Barely anything is out on the floor. Everything seems to be well contained within the ample and well-appointed storage units, the old, ornate furniture within this room. A large bed, well-turned down covers, as if untouched. Not a lot to look at, really. Would you like to investigate the room?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Perception, and there's no direct investigation skill in this game, which always bothers me.
There is investigation.
Oh, there is now.
knowledge.
Good. Excellent. Investigation, perception. Doing those two at once is a 5e player stream.
All
No, there is.
failures, alas.
Anything 8 and over for you there, Faye, is a success. Nope.
Oh, that's a bad roll. I've got 2 successes also.
Two successes.
So 2 successes from Jesse and Arch. Was there anything from you there, Nox? Okay. So we've got 2 people with 2 successes. So looking around, the theme of everything being oddly tidy continues. You find in a small desk there is a little bit of written correspondence. Flicking through it, it doesn't seem very interesting.
I'm useless.
Just sort of the general correspondence that a young woman in her early 20s of high society in Ruanberg might have, all very mundane. Arch, you find at the bottom of a wardrobe, amongst a rather large collection of shoes of all different kinds, a pair of large, heavy boots. They stand out because they are nowhere near as beautiful as the rest of the shoes in this collection, and also because they seem to be caked in mud. It's a sort of thick, cloying, clay-like river mud that you might find towards the dockland area of the cities, but only if one had been actually digging around, either in the river or perhaps further down than that.
Well, this is somewhat suspect.
Are they the same size as the other?
That's exactly what I was going to ask, yeah.
Excellent question. They do seem to be the same size as the other shoes. They seem also quite well worn on the heels
Well, what's a very
and the soles.
posh lady doing with a pair of shoes like these?
I mean, she wasn't. She was posh, but she wasn't, that sort of posh. She
Have you seen this house?
Nice.
It is a beautiful
been here
house.
a few times. It's a nice house, but she was a very nice young lady.
I'm sure she was.
Is.
I'm sure she is.
So another clue, perhaps. Is anyone else suspicious by how tidy this room is?
Yep. Do we think it's tidy in that the maids have been in to turn things down, or do we think that she might have been trying to hide things?
Graham.
Hello.
My brief discussions with Miss Dawes. She was vaguely interested in science. Is there anything in the room to indicate that interest, or is it your normal young socialite?
Okay. If you could go for a intelligence investigation check for me.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting mix. We'll see if it pays off.
Intelligence investigation.
Yes,
okay, that's
please.
4 dice. Would I have anything to do with my intuition as my background thing that we discussed?
Of scientific understanding and such.
Yes.
In that case, I'll let you swap out intelligence for that.
Okay, brilliant.
Which I think gives you a couple extra
It's
points.
2 more dice. Give me 2 more dice. Oh, yes. Okay. So that's 3 exploding dice. An 8 and a 9. So that's 5 successes off the bat.
Yeah.
And then another 10. So 6 successes.
Okay. Going through the desk, which you'd already passed over briefly before as just mundane correspondence, but now with an eye to things more scientific, you find a lot of correspondence with people, either themselves or their families, involved in the Underground Railway. And specifically the construction of the Underground Railway, not so much its running itself. How one might go about such an exploit, for example.
Okay.
And also, because of your background, that the way this has been done is not just physically scientific, but also magic has been involved in its construction too. As with many things in the city, things that look like ordinary feats of engineering, or extraordinary feats of engineering, in fact include just enough magic that no one would notice. And it seems that the nature of that magic is something that Caroline Dawes was interested in acquiring information about.
Okay, I do have some ideas. And also I think it's very funny that Penny rolls like garbage until Caroline is concerned. So, I have an idea. That I don't believe this room was totally cleaned out, and if it was by someone who didn't fully understand what they were doing. Because we do have some information here about what Miss Dawes was trying to achieve. She borrowed metal contraptions from my laboratory, and she's discussing an underground structure with people, and she's been near the river. Does a tunnel under the river mean anything? Does it mean anything? Anyone?
Arch and... No, sorry, our 2 Docklands people here, which I believe is Knox and Jesse, I think, yes?
Yeah. Correct.
Would you like to roll for me a... you all have Dockland backgrounds things, just roll those for me.
Oh, no.
Yes. So for me, that's contacts, probably?
Yeah, same.
Yeah, okay. So just straight contacts roll.
And you can add in investigation as well whilst we're at it. I'm rolling with
Very
investigation.
generous of you, thank you.
Or streetwise. pick one. Streetwise or investigation. I should think probably you're better on streetwise, both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because investigation makes me sad.
Oh. I think, this is my worst. That's my worst ever set of rolls. I think that's 1 success.
You've taken my rolls.
Yeah. Yes.
Is this the one that would do 7 and above because it involves our background stuff?
No, just till 8 and above. The 7 and above is if I give you basically advantage.
Oh, okay. I got 1 as well.
Okay, 1 success from both of you. You're both aware that although most of the Underground Railway lines have already been completed, the largest and most expensive and requiring the most work of all the engineering works of the line is the tunnel under the river Ruin itself. This is still being built, and there are large work crews undertaking that as we speak. It's due to be finished any day now, in fact.
Our plan is almost ready. Everything will change. Seem like a coincidence to anyone?
No, and I don't like coincidences. And I don't trust them. Anyway, Graham.
Hello.
Can I
Alright, well, I think we know where
look
we're going
around
next.
and see, because obviously there was that letter which they found. Can I see if there's any like secret hiding places in the desk, like the false
Yeah,
bottom
that is
drawers?
a good idea.
Okay.
And could I argue that for this I can use wits and subterfuge?
I would like to say that I always get flack from all of you for being sneaky with my abilities and trying to get a best cost benefit, and Luce is doing exactly the same thing.
Yep.
I would have
Oh,
respected
yeah,
it.
no, Lucy.
Because you said, can I argue? I'd like you to justify it anyway.
Okay, so I'm thinking it could be intelligence, but being academically intelligent, which is how I see intelligence, is not actually that useful when you're trying to be sneaky, because you want places that people aren't going to look. So I think wits, which is more, your common sense, where would I hide something? And Arch is fully a street kid who's hidden things in lots of different places and has also robbed very many places and knows how to find secret drawers. And subterfuge because you're trying to hide something.
Sure, go ahead.
Could I
then.
use that same logic to have Nox have a look around to see if there's anything that's like hidden in the room as well?
Oh, and you're all at it. Yeah, go
Yay.
ahead.
Let them have an inch, they take a mile and all that.
I know.
Oh, sorry.
That's one for
Swear
Jar.
job.
That's one
I've
for
also
Swear,
lost
yeah.
my dice.
4 successes.
Maybe it's in the jar. Sorry, how many?
4.
4. Wow, okay.
I've got one more to roll, but I need to find my dice again.
You find it. Go, go, go. So, Arch, you do find a secret compartment. Sort of like a false bottom to one of the drawers in the desk. You open it up, and it seems to be empty. But with 4 successes, I will say, as you look into it, you find sort of on the tip of one of your fingers, pulling it along the bottom of the drawer, a fine layer of dust. It's sort of faintly metallic dust.
Arch sort of swipes his finger, that swipes their finger through it, sort of sniffs it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like just touches it briefly to their tongue to see if it's see almost what they can taste about it, and then sort of just turns around and like, didn't someone say there was something about metals from somewhere?
Yes, that's me.
Come have a look at this.
Oh, all right.
And Arch sort of shows this metallic dust.
Graham,
Hi.
can I use some magic?
What kind of magic types to use? Describe to me
First
the
magic
effect
of
that
the
you're going to
game.
go for.
I'd like to use my forces magic, which relates
Okay.
to elements and the construction of the forces,
Certainly.
to identify both in terms of what metal this belonged to and sort of what metal it is and what object it belonged to. So I think what Penny does is she rummages around in her pack and takes out one of the little files she has, and releases something. It looks almost empty, but if you pay very close attention, there's this very light sort of smoke. And she's going to kind of open the bottle and pour it into the drawer. And what I'm hoping will happen as she casts this magic is the dust will very briefly reform the outline of the object it belonged to before disappearing.
Okay. I'd like you to make a roll of forces and research for me, please.
Okay.
Ooh.
Hot dice.
Oh,
1 success.
1 success. Some of the dust rises up very gently. You feel like the magic's not quite affecting all of it, it's not pulling it all into play. And you get the faint outline of a long very, very thin object before the dust dissipates. You're not quite sure what it was, but almost wire-like in its thinness, but
Yeah.
you can't make out the
I
texture.
relay this information to the others, and I say I think perhaps going to Dr. Blight's laboratory would be perhaps the best. We could do some stock checks and see what it was exactly that Miss Dawes took when I allowed her entrance into the laboratory.
I don't see how that could harm anything.
Everyone else happy to move?
How do we, how close is this laboratory?
I imagine, Graham will tell you, but in my mind it wouldn't be far because Dr. Blight's also quite affluent, so I imagine he wouldn't live too far from the Dawes.
It's also the case that the city is very much like London in a sense where everything is jumbled up together regardless of how rich you are. Certain areas are slightly more well-off than others, but there's always a mixture. By default of Dr. Blight's connections, it is fairly close by to this area. So yes,
Cool.
very quick walk.
With my
Let's
check
go.
earlier, I got 3 successes, with one of them being exploding.
This was also for false compartments,
just
right?
in the general room rather than just the desk.
Okay. You find a second false compartment in a bedside drawer. And then looking in there as you open it up, you find a large space where an object might have been. And then just the faint smell of gunpowder.
No.
And that's it.
Far be it for me to put the idea that this young woman was not as reputable as she appears. Maybe you can tell us what a good and honest member of society is doing with some form of weapon that requires gunpowder in a drawer, in a hidden pocket in the drawer beside their bed. Also, the fact that we can smell the gunpowder generally means that it's been fired recently.
Not to be rude, but the type of people who are considered good and honest in the city aren't exactly the type of people that I'd personally want to associate with. They seem to hinder progress.
I'm talking about your girlfriend.
She wasn't my girlfriend.
Sure.
Very bright red.
Sure.
She wasn't. We barely said a word to each other.
You just wish you were.
But
Do you want her to be your girlfriend?
I think we should go to my lab
I
now.
think we should try and work out why she has a gun in her bedside cabinet.
Who doesn't? They're posh.
Yeah, but why does a posh one need it? They have security for a reason.
Oh, they have more guns than regulars.
They also don't have families who tidy up a room after people have disappeared, getting rid of any sign of a struggle.
Yeah, I am. Well, do we think it was a struggle? She was taken, or do we think she left on her own? That's, I think, the most important question we need to answer.
Well,
Well,
looking in other
no
places
signs of a
and see-
struggle. Everything's been set in place nicely. All sorts of talks about her wanting to move somewhere else with this Vincent character. I think it's fair to say she probably left of her own volition.
I have a feeling there's a few options.
Well,
here.
here's the other thing. Do we trust what they've been telling us, and do we trust that letter?
Oh, no, never.
We can discuss this while we are not in the house of the people we are potentially accusing.
Right, yeah, that's probably quite a good point.
I do have another question. Science person.
My name's
Okay.
Penny.
I'm not gonna remember that.
Come on, Dreadful.
That might work. Dreadful. So, can magic... Metal's used as a conductor, right? Can it be used as a magical conductor? And did you potentially...
That is a really fascinating
Did you potentially...
question, and I'm very glad you
did you
asked.
potentially give this girl the ability to possibly magically destroy that tunnel that they're all about to open? Seeing as it's a very conspicuous time for everything to be going down right now.
Well, that depends if she knows what she's doing or not. I suggest, like I said, if we get back to lab, I can check my logs and see exactly what it was she took.
No one knows what they're doing in this goddamn city.
Lab, please.
Come on, let's go. Lead the way, Dreadful. Come on.
Yep.
Alright, you make your way to the laboratory building.
Servants' entrance.
Yeah, Penny, you have keys, so you can let yourself in whichever way you like. You make your way into, well, where would you like to make your way to?
I will go via the servants' quarters through the kitchen, Penny
Sure.
kind of saying hi to whoever's there and maybe picking up some bread and cheese and letting the others know they can do the same if they want.
They seem happy to see you.
Yeah. And I'll go down into the lab. There's kind of 3 sort of sections, which is the main area, which is where a lot of Dr. Blight's work is done. I don't know if he's there right now. Then there'll be the little sort of offshoot where Penny does her work, and then there's an alcove in that slightly smaller room, which is just like some blankets and pillows, which is where she lives.
How fancy is the stuff we're walking through?
I mean, you tell me, how fancy is it?
We're entering through the servants' quarters, I suppose, so it's going to be sort of semi-plain, your typical kitchen. Up through some stairs, very beautiful, very expensive, sort of diagrams of, all those semi-real animals that you get from, like, charts like mermaids, which are actually manatees and that kind of thing.
I love those.
Some taxidermy, some pinned bugs, and then as you head down the stairs, the laboratory is nice. It's very well kept. Nothing expensive is down here, for fear of destruction, and there's like scorch marks on the walls. But then as you continue to Penny's little area, all the equipment is much less nice. Glasses are dusty, that sort of thing. It's very, for my friends who I've played Betrayal at the House on the Hill with, like, that's the aesthetic of the house, I think.
Nice.
And the basement is very much Penny's area. But yeah, is Dr. Blight down there?
Dr. Blight is not in today, actually. It seems. You've not seen him around the house.
Great, free reign. I'm going to go and check the files. You can come with me if you want. Do not touch anything, please. Or at least ask first. But yeah, go. I can answer any questions you have, actually. If you have some about, the liaison between science and magic, especially the metal conductivity you were speaking about earlier, I do have some very interesting theories. But files. Which kind of spins on a heel and like walks off to the files, to the big cabinet where they keep all the papers.
Knox would pull Arch aside and just be like, it's pretty evident, like, how would you say defends like? The rich looking after each other?
I feel that, but... What? I don't know how I feel about Dreadful. It seems like a fancy house. Why is she sleeping in the basement?
Because she's not one of the
That seems odd. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think there's something very dodgy going on here.
Yeah.
I don't trust this. Don't trust money.
Do we trust Dreadful, though?
I think, for now.
I have a very...
She seems alright.
Yeah, I have a very bad feeling that, our little...
I think she likes the girl we're trying to find enough that she's not going to be actively hindering what we're doing.
But I think she might become a problem later, if things are a bit more complicated.
Well, we'll have to see how that plays out. But keep an eye. I will as well. But for now, she seems alright.
I wonder if this girl has the ability to make a magical bomb.
That's a terrifying thought.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to know how that would happen. For, might be fun.
I kind of want to do what I want to make one myself, but I don't want it to be at the, like, being told by a rich person to do it. I just want to with their...
No, that's 2 in the swear jar.
Jar.
Yeah.
I realised as I said it. Dang it.
You catching yourself there was excellent.
and continuing, despite catching yourself.
Yeah.
Is there to swerve? I think I'm on 3 now. I don't even remember what I was saying.
We're talking about building a bomb on our terms.
Yeah.
Yeah. That just cool regular thing normal people do.
See, I want to try and make one, but I don't want it to be at the beck and call of some rich guy. I'd rather do it just for fun, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Or maybe against the rich guy.
Definitely against the rich guy, because then you could extort him for the money. To not do it. It'd be fun.
I like your style, Nox.
I like you as well, Arch. I think this could be a good friendship.
Yeah.
But we probably should get back to the others before they notice that we're not there.
Yep, let's go do that. We'll sort of saunter over to where Penny is looking through all these files, sort of look at them, make affirmative noises and be like, yeah, these look good. What do any of these mean?
I don't read that much that fast.
It's literally just a stock take. It's in and out of our supplies. It's not particularly interesting. I've got the date, and she kind of pulls out the paper from when she remembers speaking to Miss Dawes. She says, right, so let's have a look. What stock left the lab, Graham?
So, you are doing a stock take of incoming and outgoing items, right?
Yes.
So, could you roll for me an intelligence investigation check again, please?
Okay, 2 successes.
Okay, 2 successes. You notice a discrepancy. It appears that all seems in order for the date that you're looking at. Then you go back a little further and onwards a little afterwards, and you realise that suddenly there's less stock than there should be after that date, as if something was taken out without being signed out. You work out eventually what it was. It appears to be some fine thread of gold.
Huh.
Could you roll me also a scientific understanding and occult check, please?
Okay. Oh, that is 8 dice.
Jeez.
Penny is, like, so good at one very specific thing and nothing else. Okay. 1, 2, 3 successes, 1 exploding. 4 successes, 1 exploding. Yeah, 4 successes.
Okay. You're very aware from your own experimentation with force magic that magical energy quintessence, which is the underlying sort of motion behind magical energy, can be conducted similar to electricity through select metals like gold, silver, and platinum. Gold is often the choice for being the most affordable yet effective balance between the two. It doesn't literally burn out as quickly as silver, but it's not as expensive as platinum. So the fact that gold wiring has gone missing implies to you that someone is trying to conduct magical energy for some purpose. It's something that you would do ordinarily.
Yeah. And is these stock discrepancies, are they in my handwriting or are they in Dr. Blight's handwriting?
Well, they're in no handwriting at all because it hasn't been signed out.
Oh, so I mean the stock takes in between. Did I do the stock take before and after, essentially?
It's a mixture. It seems to be ordinary routine.
Okay.
So some done by you, some done by Dr. Blight. On that day, it was a mixture of the both of you as well.
Yeah, alright. So she could have nicked it or Dr. Blight could have given to her. Okay. Alright, so good news or bad news? Who wants what first?
Let's do the bad first, get out of the way.
Magical bombs are looking more and more likely.
Great.
Great fun.
The good news is, for anyone asking, is that this corresponds with our working theory that something is happening down at the tunnel at the docks. So I do believe there is only one place left to go, unless you guys would like to look around the rest of the house. I could see if we could find Dr. Blight, although I don't think he's in.
I think I'm
get
alright.
some food from the kitchens. Any supplies from here? Does anyone need any gunpowder? I can, if one stock discrepancy is happening, I'm sure a few won't matter.
Do you have any more of that, conductive stuff?
It is very expensive. I suppose whoever took it could have taken 5 pieces instead of 4. Alright, I can get that for you. Anyone else? Mr. Ink? No?
What, sorry?
Oh, do you want anything from the stocks? We're just stocking up before we go. Do you need gunpowder? Anything else?
No, I shouldn't think so.
Alright, and tall person who's given me a nickname?
Nah, I'm alright.
Very well then. Let's head off.
Alright then, in that case, as you step out into the murky middle of the day, heading towards the Docklands, looking for potentially a magical bomb, definitely a missing person, whether missing by their own volition or not, and something happening underground. That is where we will leave off for this session.
Ooh.
Back in. Catch us up next time to see what happens with this missing persons investigation.
That was so fun. I am very excited to find out what happens next. And we will get to, but you all won't for a while. Well, if they want to make sure they catch up on the next episode, what should our lovely listeners do?
They should, of course, follow us, first of all on our Twitter, which is at RWD_pod, and on our Instagram, which is also RWD_pod. To catch our backlist of episodes, or to check out episodes in the future, you can, of course, check out our Acast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube at A Rendezvous with Destiny. And if I'm very much springing this on them, but if our lovely guest, Faye, do you have anything you would like to promote / share?
I actually don't just now. I'm kind of on a little bit of a break from creating content because I'm building a room. But I'll be back eventually, so if you want to see more of me, you can find me over Almost Faye on Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok. The 3 T's of social media, as I like to say.
Is there anything else you want to plug that you're not in that you just like?
That's
really
yeah, that's harsh.
That's
Tell
me.
us all
You
your
don't have to
opinions,
answer.
Faye.
You don't have to answer. I can plug myself. I need to take the break if you want to think about it, and then we'll come back to you later.
Please come back to me another time while I cry in a corner.
Okay, we'll come back to Faye at another date. If you really, really like us and you'd like to help us out, we do have, I'm going to take a stab at it, coffee?
Yeah.
That is available on our Linktree. If you would like to put some money into our upturned busking hat on the internet, please do. We would really, really appreciate it, and all the money would go back into the podcast, where we would do things like build a website, make merch, make sure that all our tech is in working order, and so on. And if you like me and you want to hear more of me, you can catch me on Deck of Many Aces, an actual play 5e podcast with actual asexuals. We release on the week that RWD doesn't. That's a mouthful. So if you miss us, you can come find me there. And I believe that's everything, unless anyone else wants to plug anything else.
No.
Nope.
Unless Faye's revised all of their opinions on everything.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I just got overexcited. I mean,
That's
to be fair,
alright.
there's always so many nice things that you can plug. Like, I got this candle from a shop, which Will and I went to, and it smells like a tavern. It's a great candle.
Ooh, like how so? Like sort of smell
it's-
of ale and I'm picturing like roasted meat and wood smoke.
It's wood smoke, cider, and whiskey.
Ooh, that's nice.
It's very nice. It's very nice.
endorsed by Onyx Path. We are claiming no ownership over Onyx Path intellectual properties, game systems, art or stories, which remain the properties of the rights holders. All characters, names and locations used are either public domain or are entirely fictional and bear no intended resemblance to their real-life counterparts. If you have any legal issues, please contact us directly.